好，Hello，大家好啊。大家聽唔聽到我講嘢咧？聽到係咪 OK？係啦，咁咧好多謝大家今日參加我哋一個網上嘅講座啦。誒，好多謝大家咧，今日喺呢個晚市重開嘅第二日啊，咁就都可以留喺個電腦前面睇我哋呢一個網上嘅講座。咁我哋係 Scarish Education 啦，我係 Jonathan，大家可以叫我 John。咁歡迎大家嚟到我哋嘅 online 嘅 seminar。我哋參與嘅家長咧，其實都繼續陸陸續續入緊嚟嘅。咁咧，麻煩大家，如果係可以嘅，可以咧將嗰個將你咧報名嘅電話號碼頭4個字，咁咧你可以 send 俾我哋嘅其中一個主持人 Patrick。咁咧，等佢可以記錄翻咧你嗰個即係嗰個attendance 嘅。咁咧，我哋記錄咗之後咧，今日嗰個展覽係有錄影嘅，咁就會將即係萬一大家如果聽唔明我哋講嘢啊，或者想睇翻一次咧，咁會 send 翻俾大家今日有參與嘅大家睇嘅。咁所以咧，麻煩咧大家可以將你嗰個手提電話嘅頭4個數字，咁 send 俾我哋嘅主持人 Patrick， 唔係 send 俾我啊 ，send 俾主持人 Patrick。咁係啦，去核對翻你嗰個嘅參加嘅，係啦。咁我哋你可以一路你可以一路 send 我哋一路講住啊，開始啊，咁唔阻大家太多嘅時間，因為其實今日時間都有限，係啦。咁我繼續開始講啦。我哋今日咧就好高興邀請到2個都香港人都幾熟悉嘅 school board 過嚟同我哋做分享啦。其實好老實講咧，無論有冇晚市咧，我哋都係做呢個時間㗎啦，因為我哋係就翻佢哋喺加拿大嘅時間嘅。So let me introduce to you the guest speaker today. It's Alex and Peter from Toronto Catholic District School Board, as well as Jessica from YRDSB York Region District School Board to you. Alex 同埋 Peter 咧 ，sorry Alex and Peter, I'll do my introduction in Cantonese, but I'm sure that when time passes to you, students and parents do understand what you're talking about. OK， 咁咧陣間佢哋嘅 session 咧係會係用英文嘅，係啦，咁因為佢哋都係喺加拿大嗰邊啦，咁咧你哋有問題咧可以直接用英文係問佢哋啦，或者如果你擔心唔想講英文嘅，咁你可以將個問題咧係喺 WhatsApp， 譬如你錄音啊或者中文文字打俾我哋，咁我哋咧會將你想問嘅問題咧就用英文問佢哋，佢哋即場解答你。咁解答完之後咧，我哋會用翻即係廣東話去解答翻嚟啦，咁樣咁就希望咧大家唔會喺個資訊上面咧係會流失到嘅。係啦，咁咧另外咧就大家如果有問題嘅，咁咧可以 mark 低佢哋啦。陣間咧我哋有 Q&A 呢個 session 咧係可以去再俾大家去解答嘅。係啦，咁咧我哋除咗呢2個 school board 之外啦，我哋喺最尾嘅時間啦，咁如果同學係想或者家長咧係想直接同學校單對單去對話嘅話咧，咁其實我哋亦都係會可以有一個 breakout room 啦。咁係個 breakout room 咧就係大家可以同嗰個學校單對單去對話㗎啦，係啦。I'm just trying to explain to the parents that if they want to have personal one-to-one interview session with you, we will have breakout room afterwards, and if they were interested in, if they're interested in, they can type us in the inbox, or they can WhatsApp us to say which school they want to meet up。係啦，咁咧你可以同我哋講翻你想見 Toronto 嘅 Catholic School Board 啦，定係想見呢個 YRDSB 即係 York Region 嘅 District School Board 嘅。係啦，咁我哋咧就都可以正式開始。So I'm going to start the seminar officially。好，咁好多謝大家參與啦。咁再一次多謝大家參加今日嘅 online seminar。我係 Jonathan， 大家可以叫阿 John。咁咧 大家記得啦，如果想睇翻個錄影嘅話，記得將你電話號碼頭4個字咧 send 俾我哋個主持人 Patrick，咁佢就會記錄翻，咁然後將個錄影咧之後會 send 翻俾大家嘅。咁我哋今日嘅主題咧就講加拿大嘅中學㗎，咁啊 specifically 啦，咁係加拿大嘅政府嘅中學，加拿大嘅政府中學，咁咧咁又主要咧係 school board 啦，咁啊有Toronto Catholic 啦，亦都有York Region 啦，咁我陣間咧會大概講講佢哋 cover 嘅area 啦、學校啦、學制啦等等，咁然後咧就會到佢哋主要講㗎啦。咁我哋喺考慮報咩 school board 或者係揀唔揀 school board 之前咧，咁其實我哋有好多嘢要考慮嘅。通常咧我就會用調轉頭嚟講嘅，咩為之調轉頭嚟講咧？我會由大學調翻轉頭諗，點解會咁樣諗咧？咁嘅原因係因為喺大學有時咧嗰啲入大學嘅時候咧會有科目上面嘅限制啦，咁變咗咧其實你喺中學就要揀定科目㗎啦。咁其實都好 make sense 嘅，因為其實你喺香港你譬如大學想讀譬如工程科，咁你 DSE 冇理由唔讀理科㗎，咁其實情況就一樣啦。係啦，咁除咗呢個之外啦，有啲咩嘅文化啦，個區嘅情況係點樣啦？你過到去係咪可以實習啊？或者嗰科嘅前景係點樣啊？你嘅費用需要點樣啊？安全啊、天氣啊等等咧，都係考慮嘅嘢嚟嘅。咁當然啦，其實其中一個好吸引香港學生考慮加拿大升學嘅，就係佢哋最新嗰個叫做 Stream A 或者 Stream B 啦。咁但係雖然你話我讀中學或者小學嘅，可能同我距離好遠。咁但係如果小朋友而家係中4或者中5嘅，都趕得切嘅。咁但係如果你年紀真係好細嘅咧，就趕唔切㗎啦。咁呢個係咩嚟嘅咧？就係話，如果你喺2026年8月之前，你係讀完喺加拿大讀完2年制嘅文憑嘅話咧，係直接可以申請 PR 嘅。即係話，如果你本身依家中4，當過去讀中5、中6，然後讀2年嘅 college，咁啱啱好2026年啦，咁啊〜講得切申請呢一個嘅，咁如果你係中3、2、1，咁就唔好意思啊，咁啊講唔切嘅，係啦，咁樣，咁但係咧，就算冇呢個 scheme 都好啦，咁其實就算冇呢個 scheme 啦，咁其實加拿大咧亦都係非常歡迎呢一啲嘅畢業生留低工作啊，攞 PR 嘅，咁正常嘅其他嘅渠道啦，一個 open work Visa 咧，其實喺你畢業之後，大學畢業啦，咁會有3年嘅呢個 Open Work Permit 嘅，咁所以其實亦都非常之鼓勵人係留低嘅工作啦。係啦，咁點解要揀喺加拿大讀中學啦？咁樣，咁其實有幾樣嘢嘅。咁第一樣嘢咧就比你容易啲去適應當地嘅學制啦。咁第二樣嘢咧，其實加拿大讀中學咧比較冇咁大壓力嘅，比起英國啊成。咁點解咧？咁原因係因為加拿大嘅高中咧，其實一般嚟講係70%嘅評核咧係校內嘅評核，咁30%先係考試啫。咁平時分佔咗70%，咁變咗其實咧你考試壓力細好多㗎啦。咁另外咧，對於你準備進入加拿大嘅大學或者 college，甚至美國嘅大學或者 college 啦，咁其實北美嘅制度咧就非常之容易，大家係互相 recognize 嘅。咁所以好多時咧，我哋會話呢個係好大嘅誘因。咁我舉個例子啦，咁我其實自己年年都有好多學生咧係報加拿大嘅大學直入嘅。咁個問題喺邊度咧？佢香港嘅 DSE 咧，啲科咧係唔啱報大學嘅。好簡單，譬如讀商科，即係一啲嘅譬如我想入 U Toronto 讀商科咁樣。咁如果你讀香港嘅 DSE 咧，要入呢啲學校讀商科咧，就需要有 M1 或者 M2 嘅，因為咧佢對於安省嘅制度嚟講咧，等同於佢哋嗰個可能係 advanced function 或者 calculus and factor 呢啲咁樣嘅advanced 嘅數學。咁香港嘅 core math 就冇呢啲嘅部分嘅，咁變咗如果你淨係讀 core math，跟住然後你加啲商科咧，其實你去加拿大係入唔到佢哋啲商學院嘅。咁所以其實咧，你讀中學咧就可以避免咗呢個問題啦。另一樣嘢咧就係譬如讀 engine 咁樣，讀 engine 又係要2科高 level 嘅數學啦。另外咧就要加 free cam 咁樣嘅。咁好多時香港學生可能得1科理科，仲要冇 M1、2，咁諗住過去讀 engine 咧又係接駁唔到。咁呢啲都係揀加拿大讀中學嘅原因或者誘因啦。咁咧我喺佢哋開始之前啦，先講呢一個加拿大嘅大學嘅唔好處。個唔好處咧就係嗰啲好多嘅 health science 譬如香港人好熟悉嘅 OT、PT、牙醫、獸醫、醫生呢啲學科咧，全部都係要 second degree 先可以讀嘅，要讀 master 嘅。即係話你過去讀4年大學，你係唔可以有 OT 㗎，你要讀kinesiology 之後先至可以讀譬如 PT physical therapy 嘅 master 咁樣樣。咁變咗，如果你有志向係一個 health science 發展嘅 OT、PT 啊呢啲咧，咁你又要大學 degree 畢業嘅話咧，咁加拿大就未必係一個最快嘅option 俾你。咁但係如果你話我唔係嘅，我商科、文科、理科、工程呢啲咁啊 OK 嘅，大致上係啦。咁另一個誘因就係成績啦。咁你見到右手邊啊，一般嚟講咧，加拿大嘅大學咧普遍要求啊4個 core 加2個 elective 都要4以上啊，即係你中文啊通識未改制之前啦，都係要 level 4以上。咁對於好多香港學生其實都未必會攞得到㗎。咁所以咧結論咧，呢啲攞唔到呢個成績嘅學生，最尾都係去翻加拿大讀12班嘅啫。我都有幾個學生係咁樣嘅，咁所以咁不如早啲過去啦。左手邊咧係一個我哋嘅叫 one pager 嘅 flyer 啦，咁咧就會列明咗有邊啲嘅學科，咁係會要求嘅。譬如你見到工程啦，calculus and factor 啊，大學嘅physics 啊、英文啊、functions 啊。咁樣樣啦，咁而商科有啲時候都係要啲高階嘅數學，咁呢個亦都係揀讀中學嘅原因。咁所以點解我哋正話講啦，我哋會調翻轉頭諗嘅就係咧，先睇大學你想讀啲咩嘢，因為會某程度上決定你中學要揀啲咩科，你依家啱唔啱科，你去到要揀啲咩科，咁呢啲都係需要留意嘅。咁我哋咧嚟一個好快嘅加拿大嘅省份嘅簡介啦，咁啊有即係10個省，咁有好多唔同嘅省份啦。咁咧香港人最熟悉嘅咧，咁就係BC 省啦。咁喺左手邊，咁當中首府係溫哥華啦。安省啦，安省首府多倫多。咁大家唔好記錯啦。咁多倫多、溫哥華都唔係首都啊，首都係 Ottawa 嘅，係啦咁樣樣。咁今日咧主要咧係會係揀安省嘅，我哋就翻佢哋個時間啦。咁如果家長係見到我哋廣告嘅話咧，咁其實我哋聽日嘅中午嘅時分啦，我哋會有 BC 省嘅 school board 嘅，咁都好歡迎大家再喺聽日11點嘅時候再參加翻我哋嘅講座，條 link 一樣嘅啫，係啦，咁參加翻聽日嘅 BC 省嘅 school board 嘅講座。咁我哋今日係講安省嘅。好，咁咧大概啦有個地圖仔啦，咁今日咧主要 cover 嘅咧，咁係喺大概啦喺呢一個位啦 ，Toronto 嘅 Catholic District School Board 咧，咁主要喺 City of Toronto 啦，咁上啲落啲都會有少少嘅，咁佢哋好大嘅。咁咧另外咧就係會有 York 嘅 Regional District School Board 啦，咁呢啲係主流嘅你哋會考慮嘅 area 啦，咁所以都叫咗佢哋嚟。咁咧當中咧其實 York 其實 cover 嘅範圍好大㗎嚇，咁但係大部分香港人熟悉嘅可能係 Markham 啊、Richmond Hill 啊、Aurora 呢啲地方啊，咁都係好受歡迎嘅區域嚟嘅，亦都好多香港人嘅區域。咁下面嘅市中心亦都非常之受歡迎嘅。咁學校嚟緊咧就會再詳細啲講佢哋嘅 cover 嘅區域啦，同埋佢哋所 cover 嘅學校嘅。So I'm just saying that these are some of the popular regions that Hong Kong students or parents are looking at, but it doesn't necessarily mean that these are the only areas you cover, because I understand that your school board may cover, a little bit further away from the designated area or the gray or the colored areas. So this is just to show them approximately where they are looking at. 係啦，咁同學校大概講翻啦。咁呢個咧就係個 BC 省嘅地圖啦，咁樣。咁聽日咧就會有 Vancouver 啊、Burnaby 啊、Vancouver 啊、Burnaby、Lanny 咁呢啲地方會嘅。咁呢個就聽日啦。咁咧大概講一講學制啦。咁左手邊咧咁香港讀完中一咁過去讀Grade A 啦，讀完中二就過去讀 Grade 9啦。咁如此類推咁樣走落去嘅。咁香港讀完中五咧，亦都可以過去讀 Foundation 啊嚇。咁但係咧就唔係好多科可以開讀嘅。咁上面打星星咧就12班啦。咁咧唔係個個學校咧都會可以直接收同學直讀12班嘅。咁大家咧 就要留意翻你本身而家讀緊嘅科，睇下對到幾多個 credit。因為咧，譬如啦，如果我係想讀Cam，咁但係咧本身我冇收 Cam 嘅喎，咁你已經完成中五啦，咁點算咧？咁咧就要補翻中四嘅 Cam，先可以教你中五嘅 Cam 嘅。佢都可以咁做，嘅。咁但係就要補翻啲11班嘅科目啦。So I'm just showing this table to the parents that why they are on the grade 12 because some of the school may not take grade 12 entry. And there are some subject to some subject they are doing in Hong Kong. Maybe they are doing some irrelevant subjects that they cannot carry the credits over. They may need to do some grade 11 subjects before they can do the grade 12. So that's why there's a star down there. Maybe maybe the school board partners, you can explain a little bit further later if parents do come up across these questions. 係啦，咁通常咧揀加拿大咧，正話講咗啦，咁有親戚啊、屋企人啦，咁好多都會揀加拿大嘅。公立中學啦，咁點解揀公立中學咧？其實公立中學咧，加拿大嘅數量係好多嘅，基本上係加拿大嘅私校係好少啦。咁另外咧，國際生比例咧，比起某啲私校係少嘅。咁學費非常之平，去到幾平咧，陣間會比較表你睇。同埋咧，好多時咧就會係喺住宿家庭嗰度住嘅，咁變咗咧有一個加拿大嘅 experience，即係你唔係話我淨係同香港人玩啊咁樣。私校咧咁會分譬如一啲嘅國際中學啦，或者係一啲優質嘅高中啦。咁私校嘅優勢就係要小班教學啦，咁但係個缺點咧就係個學費都可以幾貴㗎。咁大概有個學費表啦，俾大家睇。公立學校咧，如果國際生咧，佢哋都收嘅，大概 roughly 嗰個學費15,000蚊加紙左右啦。私校咧2萬至4萬嘅啦。咁住宿啦，如果住 homestay 嘅話，大概都係13,000、4蚊左右。咁所以咧咁公立學校如果你住寄宿家庭咧，其實係包食嘅，所以其實咧20萬差唔多20萬係搞得掂啊，食加住加學費，咁係非常之平嘅。咁如果你話我本身有朋友係願意喺嗰邊做佢嗰個homestay 或者監護人嘅話咧，咁下面嗰筆錢咧都慳埋，係啊，咁非常之平。咁右邊咧咁寄宿就會好貴㗎啦。咁大家咧都要留意一樣嘢咧，就大家都要留意一樣嘢啦。喺嗰個如果本身你係揸加拿大護照嘅，你話我可以免費教育嘅喎咁樣，咁當然咧個問題就係你要翻加拿大去報讀啦，第一。咁第二咧就有機會咧可能要恢復翻即係居民嘅身份，咁同埋咧你要去到再等學校去派位嘅。咁我哋如果做 international 嘅話咧，咁當然啦，唔係講緊你攞加拿大護照過去當地係 settle 咗再報學校，咁呢一隻嘅免費教育咧，咁我哋就冇得幫你代辦啦。咁但係如果你話本身係攞加拿大 passport， 但係又家長係唔過去，唔會恢復居民嘅身份嘅，咁淨係送小朋友過去，佢喺嗰邊住 homestay 或者住喺即係一個遠房親戚度嘅，咁嘅話咧，咁都係要交學費㗎，唔係唔使交學費。咁但係咧呢啲我哋都可以幫你預先揾個學校先嘅咁樣啦。咁冇加拿大 passport 咧嘅好處係其實都可以入政府嘅中學㗎，咁佢哋都會收嘅。咁只係需要譬如話我報邊個 school board，咁我喺個 school board 度咧幫你報名啦，然後同一時間咧要幫你揾地址，因為咧你唔可以離開個學校太遠嘅。咁揾咗個地址啦，跟住嘅學校收唔收啦，咁樣咁就去做個申請嘅。咁如果你係加拿大 passport， 你又要免費教育嘅話，你就要直接同 school board 申請啦，係啦。咁申請嘅時候啦，咁你就要視乎你個地區啦，每個地區可以報3間學校啦。咁通常咧，我哋嘅做法咧就喺申請之前咧，我哋會問學校有邊間學校係會接受申請啊，咁樣啦。咁有啲好嘅學校咧，你要提早8至10個月申請嘅；有啲學校都唔需要嘅。咁如果咧你係加籍，但係你又唔一齊過去，咁但係咧你都想用我哋嘅服務嘅，即係譬如話譬如 YDSB 咁樣，譬如我想用 international program 嘅身份，家長唔過去啦，我交學費，咁但係我想知道 邊間學校會收我亦都係會交學費嘅話咧，咁其實我哋都可以幫你去做呢樣嘢嘅。咁但係如果你話我好緊張呢樣嘢，咁絕對係值得做啦。咁但係如果你話我唔緊要嘅，我其實希望係免費教育嘅話咧，咁其實你攞翻一個你喺加拿大嘅地址，咁去翻當地嘅校區度報名咧，咁就可以做到個免費嘅教育㗎啦。咁當然啦，有啲情況就唔係咁 straightforward 嘅，通常就我哋就會同大家再去詳細去傾你嘅情況啦，值得用邊樣嘢去做啦，或者係值唔值得報嗰個 school board 啊咁樣，咁我哋都會同大家去分析嘅。咁今日咧咁就會有呢即係 YDSB 同 Toronto Catholic 咧喺上面呢一度嘅，咁聽日就會係左手邊嘅學校啦。咁 Peel 啊、Upper Ground 啊、Thames Valley 咧今日就唔喺度嘅，今日時間有限，我哋都唔請太多嘅 school board 啦。咁咧另外咧咁就有啲優質嘅私校啦，咁咧你見到喺表上面嗰啲咧，其實好多都唔收學生㗎啦。應該除咗 Albert College 咧，其他都唔收學生。咁啊，如果你係想報呢啲學校嘅話咧，咁就嚟緊9月咧，佢哋都會正式接受申請嘅，for 明年9月。咁今年咧，其實真係都報唔到㗎啦。咁如果你話一啲國際嘅私校啦，咁啊，譬如 Columbia International College 啊、Broadwell 啊、或者 Bronte 啊呢啲學校咧，咁其實我哋都有做，咁都仲收到學生嘅，咁啊就會喺星期日嘅私校嘅 session 咧，咁就邀請咗佢哋係過嚟係同大家分享嘅。咁有啲咩嘅報名係需要啊咁樣，咁咧如果私校嘅有啲會需要 SSAT 啦，咁但係我哋唔好理私校啦。咁 visa 嘅 application 啦，就係下面呢度啦，咁係4個月嘅 financial proof 啦。咁通常做 visa 嘅申請咧要2至3個月啦。咁啊另外咧就要交咗學費先會出到個 LOA 啊，要驗身啊等等咧齊晒，咁我哋就會同你做個 visa 嘅 application 嘅。咁經我哋報學校咧，呢個 visa 嘅 application 咧，我哋係會同大家一齊去做嘅。咁我嘅部分咧就去到呢度啦，咁係一個好短嘅分享。咁相信大家都未即刻有問題嘅。咁我嚟緊咧就會將個時間交俾Toronto Catholic 去同大家講解佢哋嘅學校啊，佢哋嘅成績啊、地理位置啊等等啦。咁然後咧就大家可以有個問題，咁啊可以問個Q&A 嘅。好。So my small part is finished. So it's a very brief introduction of Canada and also Ontario and things like other things, small bits and pieces and some applications needs and also as well as visa application documentation things. But that's it really. So for now, very welcome Alex and Peter from Toronto Catholic District School Board to present the school board and the schools to you. So Alex and Peter, let me pass the time to you. Let me stop share, and if you have some slides or videos, please feel free to show. We have already made you as co-host.
Thank you.
So thank you, Peter. Thank you, Alex.
Oh, sorry, let me get our presentation ready. Can you all see that?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. So welcome everyone. My name is Peter Aguiar. I'll explain my position with the Toronto Catholic School Board in a second. First, I want to thank Skyreach for inviting us and for taking a good deal of our presentation away, because a lot of what we talk about is why Toronto and Canada is such a great place to study and to send your children. I want to thank all of the parents for being here. I understand from Skyreach that this is the first time that restaurants are fully open for dining in Hong Kong in a while. And having been to Hong Kong on a few occasions, I know how good the restaurants are. So I'm very grateful that you're here today. Very much appreciated. We're going to talk a little bit about the Toronto Catholic District School Board. We are located in Toronto. So let me, there we go. So we're going to split this up into 4 sections. First of all, who are we as a school board? Where are we? I think you know that, but we're going to talk a little bit more about Toronto and why Toronto specifically in Canada is a great place to send your children. What we do, and why us? So first of all, I bring greetings from Dr. Brendan Brown. He is our Director of Education, very welcoming of international students. And as a board, we have a long history of accepting international students. Again, my name is Peter Aguiar. I'm the Superintendent of International Education. I'm also Superintendent of Schools, so I know our schools very, very well. We have a large number of schools, and we'll be talking about some of them today and about our board in general. But I'm also in charge of about 24 of our schools. So I have a very good understanding of our school board, and I will let Alex introduce himself and tell you what he does.
Greetings and good evening. My name is Alex Mazzucco. I'm the Senior Coordinator of International and Continuing Education. So I have both portfolios. I take care of all the international students, and I take care of all after-hour programs, including international languages. Many of our international students are actually also participating in the international languages, and whether they're learning a new language or continuing with studying Cantonese, they really enjoy the programming on Saturday, and it helps increase their averages for university. My first trip to Hong Kong was in 2007, and every time I visit, and there's been numerous trips, I'm very impressed with the people, the food, the city. It's just amazing. But I'm most impressed with the dedication of the parents and the students. The students that we've been fortunate to have over the years are very dedicated, hardworking. They usually do extremely well in their mathematics assessments and science assessments. And many of the students that are coming from international schools are actually able to graduate in 1 year. They're able to finish their 6 university credits in 1 academic year and start university the following year. So we're here to provide academic support in terms of their student placements and in terms of pathways to university. And we're also here to support them with their transition to life in Toronto and with their home stays. So anything we can do for you or your families, we're here to support. We welcome your students in our district, and we'll make sure that we treat them as we treat our own students and our own children in our district. We wish you a good evening, and we look forward to some conversations later on this evening.
And I want to let you all know how lucky we are to have Alex and the wealth of experience that he has with international education, especially in Hong Kong and the whole region. Has been doing this for way longer than I have. And although he reports to me, I often feel that I should be reporting to him because of his breadth of knowledge of everything that he does know. So Alex is a great resource for us. And the whole department, which I'll talk about later, is a great resource for parents. So again, who are we? I'm just going to talk really, really quickly about this. We are an English language publicly funded school board in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Again, because we have the word Catholic in our name, as a board, we are a board of schools. People often think that we are a private institution. We are not. Our students do not pay tuition, unless, of course, they're international students. And we are fully funded and have been since 1985. However, we do have 175 years of excellence in education. Our first school opened 175 years ago. We have been around. We're one of the oldest school boards in Ontario and actually in Canada. And we do have a long tradition. First, as private schools, we were a number of private schools which gathered into a private system. But again, since 1985, the government fully funds Catholic schools, and we're probably one of the largest Catholic boards in the world. Many of our private school traditions, however, still remain. So you'll notice that all of our schools, especially our secondary schools, have uniforms. So that is a requirement for all of our students. We are uniform schools, sort of that private school field. We still have some unusual things that other school boards may not have, which may appeal to you or may not appeal to you, in terms of we do have a lot of co-educational schools. Most of our schools are both, male and female. But if it's something that you prefer, we have single gender schools for both all boys and for both all girls. So that is a decision you would have to make in terms of what is best for your child. In fact, one of our most popular schools is Loreto Abbey, which we'll talk about a little later, and it is an all-girls school. And overall, we are a large school board. We have 165 elementary schools. We have 29 secondary schools. We have 2 schools that are combined elementary and secondary, and they're very specialized schools, and they deal with the arts, and we can talk a little bit about that as we go on. And we actually have an adult education school as well. So whatever the needs for your child are, I think we can certainly meet because we have a large number of schools. And we accept students at every kind of school that you feel is right for your child, and we can certainly help you decide what that might be, and we can talk about some of our more popular schools. None of our schools restrict students. There are some exceptions in terms of, for example, some of our arts schools, there may be an audition involved or a portfolio if your child wants to get into art or wants to get into some of the music programs. Your children in all of our schools. I apologize. Am I coming through clearly? Because I seem to be having problems.
Yeah, it's cutting out for me too as well.
Okay, so I apologize for that, because for some reason it seems to be cutting out. We'll do our best. So this is a map of Toronto. It's the area that was shown earlier was a large area. This is just that very small area in the middle that was called Toronto of the map that John, I believe, shared with you. And if you notice all the dots, those are all the schools that we have. So if you know Toronto at all, you know, down on the bottom is the lake. A lot of our schools are down there. We have the islands. The downtown area is a very popular place for our students. Okay, I am not sure if I am still or if I have crashed.
You're okay now.
Am I still coming through?
Yep.
Okay, good. So again, we are in Toronto itself, the center of that map that was shown earlier to you. Just a quick picture of some of our schools. We have a variety of different schools, and I can highlight some of them. This is Loretto Abbey, a beautiful school just a little bit north of the city, very popular. I talked about it earlier. A lot of people think it looks a little bit like Hogwarts, you know, the Harry Potter school, and it has very much that feel to it. This is Mary Ward, again, one of our high achieving schools. A number of international students go there. A very unique program. It's called a self-directed learning school, and students make up their own schedule almost on a daily basis and have a lot of support in doing that. Here is Brebeuf, one of our newer facilities, and this is St. Michael's Choir School, an all-boys school starting in grade 5 that teaches music and the arts, and again, right in the downtown core. And just a variety of some of our schools, and just some pictures of our students. As you can see, all of our schools have uniforms. Even in our elementary schools, it's a very simple uniform, but all of our students do wear uniforms. And at the bottom is a picture of Cardinal Ricardo Academy of the Arts, a popular destination for some of our international students. And it's a world-renowned school for students who want to study music or dance or visual arts. And if you have a child that is very interested in that, again, a portfolio will be needed. There's an application process, but we do accept students there. The interesting thing about Toronto, like I said, is we're very centrally located, very close to the U.S. border. In terms of the amount of what Toronto offers as a city is pretty extensive, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Very close to Niagara Falls. If you know Niagara Falls, it's only about an hour drive away. The Niagara wine region, if you'd like sort of ice wine, a great place to go for ice wine, and it's a wonderful sort of region as well, and lots to do in the region for Toronto. Why Canada? And I think John may have talked about some of this. Certainly, we're one of the safest countries in the world. We're one of the more powerful economies. We're part of the G7. We have a reputation for welcoming skilled and highly educated immigrants seeking employment. And I believe Skyreach mentioned the path to immigration, especially when you're studying in Canada, is a lot easier than coming from abroad. And Alex can talk a little bit more about that later on, and that's something we're going to mention. We have one of the world's best educations in some of the world's top universities, and we'll mention some of that as well. And again, getting into Canadian universities or even American universities is much easier if you are applying from within Canada than from applying from abroad. We're one of the fastest growing cities in North America for the technology sector. I think the only two cities who are larger right now are New York and San Francisco. And we are not a huge city in terms of Asian standards. I know that, but we are the 4th largest city in North America. and considered one of the most multicultural schools in the world, cities in the world. So if you want your child to get a truly international experience with people from all around the world, Toronto is a city made up of immigrants and highly skilled immigrants at that. And it's a great place to study. And of course, we follow the Ontario curriculum. All of the boards that both boards that you'll be listening to today do that, and they're really known. Just some views from the city. I don't know if any of you have been there, but I would encourage you to come and visit. It's a great city to visit. And in terms of some of our universities, Alex, do you want to talk about some of our universities?
Yeah, that would be great. So I would suspect about 90 to 95% of our international students would continue their studies at a post-secondary institution, either in Ontario and British Columbia. The preferred schools being University of Toronto, Waterloo, Western, McGill, and then quite a few also go to UBC. So all those pathways are open to them. The nice thing that in Canada, once they do finish their post-secondary, they're able to get a work permit, and then many times that translates to a PR status, which many of the students and families are looking for. In terms of Toronto Catholic, many of our colleagues, one of my team members, Teresa Chung, she actually followed that pathway. So she immigrated from Hong Kong when she was in grade 9, studied in one of our schools, Mother Teresa, for 4 years, went to U of T, and is now teaching with the district and working in my department. So she's a Canadian working in my department, and all of her family members are now in Canada as well. So it's definitely a pathway to status within Canada. Universities are top-notch, second to none. U of T, Waterloo, McGill, and UBC are all known for their excellent academic programs. So that's definitely a pathway for your son or daughter, and we're here to help. So once you get here, our guidance counselors in the schools will actually help them complete their university applications. They'll make sure that they've selected their best top 6 courses, which were shared with you by John earlier today. The nice thing is that if they're attending an international school and their English level is beyond ESLE, they can actually finish in 1 year. If not, most students from Hong Kong take between 1.5 years and 2 years, but very common for students to graduate after 2 years in Ontario from Hong Kong.
And again, just highlighting some of the programs and some of the universities there. And I want to emphasize what Alex said, is that your children, in terms of coming to our schools, will have a lot of support, not only from our department, but from the schools themselves in terms of choosing an appropriate university and in their university application process. And they would be applying really with other students in the school, which is, again, a great advantage. There's a little note there that I just found about University of Toronto, which is I'm actually live right in downtown Toronto. Occasionally I'll be going for a walk later. I'll walk right past the University of Toronto campus. It's a beautiful old campus. And it's just ranked really highly in the global sort of ranking of universities. And I would just note the bottom part of this little box there. You can, it says that U of T ranked among the 25 universities total globally in 32 specific subjects. And only 6 other schools have done this in the world. That is Harvard, University of California, Berkeley, Stanford, University of California, Los Angeles, Oxford, and Cambridge. So for U of T to be able to achieve that shows you the quality of education in Canada and the quality of our universities. At the same time, if you're looking at the PISA rankings, which is a test that is given every 3 years or so, that tests 15-year-olds in science and math, and the last one was in 2018. Some of our schools are just getting ready to have their students there. Canada ranked 8th in the world in those areas, well ahead of the United States, Australia, Sweden, Denmark, a lot of other Western countries that you may be considering in terms of sending your children to. So again, we feel very comfortable that this would be a great place to send your children. I believe, John, you spoke a little bit about this, but Alex, is there anything else you want to emphasize in this slide?
So obviously, the advantage of becoming a Canadian citizen is that the families can then invest or expand their portfolios within Canada, whether that includes property or other Canadian investments. Those are all open to them. Many of our partners will provide supports to help you, and that includes our recruiting partners like SkyReach. So definitely something parents keep in mind. It's a good way to secure the future for both themselves and their children. Like my parents, they came from Italy. So obviously Toronto has a lot to offer both students and their families for their future success and future independence. So it's definitely a good place to be. Solid, top-notch education, and then different pathways to either immigration or pathways to diversifying the family's assets, for sure. Something worth considering.
So again, why us as a board? I mean, when you have all sorts of other choices, I think the fact that we are in Toronto, the experience that we offer of being in a city, all of our students, for the most part, especially at secondary schools, they take local transit to work, to school. The normal commute time is about half an hour. It could be closer depending on where their homestay is. But unlike other boards where children and students may have to be bused because there could be long commutes, and that is not the case with us. So depending on the area of the city that you feel you want to live in, depending on the school that you may choose for your child, there are good transportation options for all of them. And one of the things, when parents ask, well, what school is right for my child? Very often parents will hear from friends who may be in Toronto and they know of a certain school, and we will give you all the information on that. We think all of our schools are excellent. All of our schools will accept students, unlike some other boards that isn't possible. We do have a long history of dealing with international students. I believe on average, we have about 1,100. This was pre-COVID, unfortunately, because our numbers certainly have dropped, but they're coming up. But pre-COVID, we were looking at between 1,200, I believe, and 1,100 students throughout the board. But it's important to note that the international students are really spread throughout all of our schools. So if your child does choose to come to a school at the Toronto Catholic District School Board, they're not going to be just with other international students. They're going to be a small part of a larger community and really get an experience that is very Canadian and very international. At the same time, they will get a lot of support from our department, and Alex will talk about our department in a bit, as well as the people in the school in terms of their academic supports, their social supports, and the staff in the school. We have programs throughout the board that I think will interest your children. We have our STEAM programs, which some schools specialize in science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. They are very specific programs for that. We have regional arts programs. I've talked a little bit about that. We have some schools that specialize in arts in general, and some schools that look at fine arts. So Cardinal Carter is one of those schools. I spoke about St. Michael's Choir School downtown. Bishop Morocco, I believe, has a regional arts program. So again, we could talk about specific schools if you have any questions. A lot of our schools have a specialist high skill major where students can choose subjects and receive a seal on their diploma that says they have specialized in either engineering or transportation or healthcare. We offer those programs in just about all of our schools. Some schools offering some specialties, other schools offering others. And again, depending on the interest of your child, we can recommend that. A number of our schools also, we have 3 international baccalaureate schools, again, regular schools that offer the International Baccalaureate program, which is a world curriculum, as most of you may know. And a lot of our schools offer advanced placement programs. And those that's a way, if you take advanced placement, of actually earning university credits in the US, for example, where it will count in universities, and you can achieve that right within your high school setting by taking these advanced placement courses. We have Mary Ward, which is, again, a very interesting school. I was at that school for about 4 or 5 years, and it consistently ranks in provincial EQAO scores, which are scores on literacy that are standard for all schools near the top. And it lets students really determine their own schedule on a daily basis. And that's a school I can talk about all day, but it's very unique. And I think there are only 5 or 6 in all of Canada that do that. We have French immersion schools. We have special education programs at almost all of our schools, certainly at all of our secondary schools almost. We have those programs and ESL programs to assist, obviously, students, international students and regular students who come in. We have co-op education, apprenticeship program. We just have a real variety, and there's a depth and breadth to our schools that we're very, very proud of. And again, in a city that we think would be a great place for international students to study in. Alex, do you want to add anything?
I think Peter touched the surface all of them. We can provide families with profiles to all of our schools, and we are actually working on producing new materials. The next thing is we have counselors that do speak Cantonese. So if you have specific questions, our counselors can speak with you. Our recruitment partners are also very familiar with our schools. But many of our schools have unique programs which can't be found elsewhere. Their academic standings are in the top, 10, 20 percentile. So we can definitely make sure that your needs of your child, both academically and in terms of extracurriculars, are met. We're very happy that with the decreased restrictions, that activities are starting over again. Today at my son's school was their first mass in just over 2 years. So it's a nice way to bring the community together. After school events are happening, volleyball, football, basketball, all those activities are resuming, trips are resuming. So if you do decide to send your students to Ontario, your children, our schools are now becoming the vibrant communities they used to be. So we look forward to welcoming them. And definitely a lot of information we've shared, but we can definitely give you specific information for specific schools once we know more about your child.
We believe strongly that we have to educate the whole child, and that is not just academics. And as much as the academics are important, we do stress that those extracurricular activities in the afternoon allow students to create stronger bonds with other international students, but also with the local school community. And there's a wide range of those kind of activities that we
And I think Peter mentioned it before, our district has no restrictions. So all of our schools are open to international students.
I apologize. It seemed I crashed. So I'm no longer sharing my screen, I take it. Let me
No, you're not.
share again. Let me share again. Sorry. I apologize for that. That back on the screen?
It is.
Okay, so I apologize for that. This is the technology the school board offers me. It could be better, so we'll do that. So that's a little bit about our sort of school board in general. A lot of schools to talk about, and we can talk about more of those schools specifically if you have certain questions. Alex, I believe Skyreach probably mentioned the Ontario educational system and what you need in terms of graduating. Alex, do you want to say anything there?
Yeah, no, most definitely. So in terms of graduating with an Ontario secondary school diploma, which would open all post-secondary institutions in Ontario and post-secondary institutions throughout the world, some of them have other admission criteria. But in Ontario, our schools are designed to prepare your child for post-secondary pathways. So all the students will have 30 credits. They can bring 24 from their home country. And if they're coming over after grade 11, most students bring at least 24 over. I can tell you that coming from Hong Kong, the majority of the students are at or above grade level in mathematics, and many of them are coming in ESL-E, ESL-D, which is the 5th and 4th level of ESL, straight from Hong Kong. So whatever English programs that you're using in Hong Kong or international programs that they're attending, they're preparing them well for studies in Canada. The nice thing is if they can do a year or two in Ontario before attending an English post-secondary institute, they're going to make friends, colleagues. They're going to understand the culture a bit better. So when they transition to post-secondary, that transition will be more smooth. They won't have as many issues, and they'll be very familiar with the culture and with Canada so that they can do their best while studying in university. As I mentioned in the chats, only 6 Ontario credits are required to graduate with an OSSD, and that's those 6 university credits. That's the minimum. Many of the students from Hong Kong are graduating with the minimum, but the average require about 10 to graduate. So a semester and a half, a year and a semester, or 2 years is typically what's required, but many students from international schools can actually do their finishing year in Ontario and then attend UBC, Waterloo, University of Toronto after graduating from one of our high schools. In terms of math, English, and sciences, there's a minimum number of courses, but that minimum is more than exceeded in Hong Kong. Students also need to do some community service, which our schools help them with. And there's a proficiency test in languages, which they will do at the school level with Ontario students. So everything they need to graduate will be taken care of by the school. And I can assure you that all students that have come through Hong Kong, and we're talking thousands, have had no difficulties in meeting the graduate expectations in order to get into a post-secondary institution. The nice thing about Ontario is students don't just pick one post-secondary pathway. They can pick as many as they like, a minimum of 3. Many take between 5 and 8. I know my children have both applied for 6 when they went to post-secondary, and many of our students get accepted to more than half of their choices. So they'll have a variety of choices to pick from when they do select their post-secondary institution. One unique thing about our schools is that they do wear uniforms, as you can see in our photos. So all of our students wear uniforms. It's a nice private school feel. It's a nice clean business look, and we're very proud of that as well. Peter?
Yeah, and a lot of our schools are compared to some other boards rather small. We especially compared to Asians. I think our largest school has about 1,200 students right now, and that's the largest school. And a lot of our high schools are under 1,000. So again, our students get a real community feel. I also know, and Alex and I know, that a lot of parents ask, well, what marks do they need, or like, what do you need to see? We accept students at all levels. The only thing we do in the head is to give a bit of an English proficiency exam. That's not for admission. That's just to determine the English level of your child, so we can give them the proper support. We accept all students at all levels, and that part of the test, if you will, is so we can place them appropriately and give them the appropriate ESL support that they may need. Alex, talk a little bit about our department, which I'm very proud of.
Sure. So we actually have a very robust department. It's myself. There's a coordinator who is the vice principal. We work together to support parents and students, to liaise with the schools. We actually work with students from when they apply, when we provide them with a letter of acceptance, to when they actually arrive in Toronto. And then after we run programs in the summer, orientation programs for students, we have a lot of variety of activities for students. And once they get here, we have usually a celebration sometime in the middle of September, where all new students and their custodians are invited. We bring greetings from the board. We usually have a celebratory event at the board, usually ranging between 150 and 200 students, which is very nice to see all the new students. We have ice-breaking activities, and our office is staffed between regular business hours, so 8:30 to 4:30. There's someone available at the office. We have a direct line where they can call. And our homestay partners that have been approved by the district, they can actually reach 24/7. So if you choose to use one of our homestay partners, they've been vetted by the district, they meet high standards, and they're available to support you and your child 24/7 a day, as is my team. I typically respond to emails myself, and usually within an hour of receiving an email, you'll receive an email back from me with either further direction, or I'll ask someone else for assistance. The nice thing Peter mentioned is that all of our schools have ESL programs. One of the questions we consistently get from Hong Kong is how many Hong Kongese students would be in a school. And I can assure you, whether it's Hong Kong or any other country we recruit from, most of our schools are capped at about 5% international. So when we welcome your child into our district, we want them to get an immersive experience with a variety of students from different cultures, different experiences. So every school that you go to, you won't find it's just for international students. We have a mixture of students in all of our schools, and you and your child will have a variety of options based on your child's interest pathways and where you'd like them to live. In terms of partnerships, we do have our homestays posted on our district. We have 2 partners that specifically focus with our Chinese market, and we would introduce you to those 2 partners. They're very familiar with the expectations of the families. Most of their reps speak the language, and they're there to support. Very few concerns have arisen over the years. Many things are dealt with within a day or 2, and there really hasn't been anything that I can recall in the recent past that's been, of any concern I would have as a parent. My own children, I would have no issue in having them provide homestay placement for them, and we would be there to support you if there's any concerns or questions. As Peter said, we typically average around 1,100 students. I think we peaked at around 13, and we hope to rebuild the program slowly now that the pandemic restrictions are easing. Again, I can assure you that our staff are very dedicated to students. The one unique thing about all the Catholic schools in Ontario is that we do have chaplains. So we have support teachers that are there to assist students and connecting with other students if there's ever a time of need. And we really believe in the model of a caring adult. So our system is founded around that your child is never at a school by themselves. They will definitely have an adult that's looking out after them, making sure they're getting the best academic experience they can. And as I said, from my officer to my vice principal to our support teachers, our staff will respond in a timely fashion. And for me, that's less than 24 hours, if not sooner. So any questions, I guess we'll hold them at the end, but we're here to support. The picture.
Okay, just a picture of our department, and thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming, and we're happy to take questions.
Yeah, so both Joanne and Teresa are from Hong Kong. They both were raised in Hong Kong and they immigrated to Canada when they're, probably in grade 9 and 10, and they both now work for the district. So Joanne's the far left and Teresa's is third from the left. And they'll be here to assist your child as well when they're studying in our district.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Peter, for the presentation. No wonder your presentation has got some Chinese words there. Okay. So 家長，如果你有問題想即刻問 Toronto Catholic School Board 嘅咧，咁你可以WhatsApp 我哋啦，亦都可以喺 chat box 嗰度將個問題打出嚟。或者係你喺 WhatsApp 度錄音俾我哋幫你問都得㗎。So we are now welcome some questions for Toronto Catholic District School Board, and we'll wait for say a minute or two to see if any questions come in. If not, then we will pass the time over to Jessica, and we will gather all questions afterwards. 咁如果你有問題，你即刻想問嘅，可以係啦，留言俾我哋啦，或者直接開咪問。又或者如果你想直接同 Peter 同埋 Alex 直接傾嘅話咧，你都可以留言同我哋講話，想同佢喺一個breakout room 嗰度單對單同佢見面嘅。咁如果你唔想聽喐嘅話咧，咁你可以直接同我哋講咁樣。咁但係咧我哋都鼓勵你聽埋唔同嘅 school board 嘅。咁喺最後咧，我哋都會有個大嘅一個 Q&A 啦，同埋大嘅呢個 breakout room 嘅 session 俾大家係去 join 翻嘅。咁你只係需要打譬如 Toronto Catholic 定係YDSB， 咁我哋就會將你分配喺嗰個房間嗰度噶啦。咁各位家長，如果你有問題想問Toronto Catholic 先嘅，咁你而家可以提出你嘅問題。咁如果唔係嘅話咧，你亦都可以等到最尾，咁一次過喺後面問嘅。咦，好，我有一個問題啊。So I've got a question from one of the parents just message me. The question can be answered by both Jessica and Peter. So the question is, they'd like to know if there's any female ice hockey team in any of your schools.
I don't know, Alex. Do you know if
absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
There is. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So Michael Power would have a female hockey team. Many of the single gender female schools would have a hockey team. A unique thing, which has happened but not very common, is that in Ontario, females can actually play on the male team if their skill set is comparable. So at Michael Power, we've actually had females play on the male team. So there's not a restriction based on gender. The females can play up. Males can't play a crossover to the female team, but the females can play on a male team, believe it or not. So definitely we have female hockey.
Okay, understand. So for Jessica, because I believe this question can be for both school boards. So Jessica, is there any female ice hockey team across your school board?
A couple of our schools that they do offer extra curriculums that running hockey teams. I'm not sure which school specifically will be running a female only hockey team. As my colleague Alex just mentioned, here in Ontario, male and female, they sometimes, a lot of times, and they can play together, and especially in our school sports teams in terms of hockey. So if the student has special interest, and especially for YRDSB, I do encourage you to reach out to me, and then I'll do some further research for the family and get back to you. Thank you, John.
Okay, thank you. So maybe Jessica, you can stay on because we got some more questions coming. But this one's, I believe, is for Toronto Catholic, because they ask, do they need to go to church daily, or, is there any going to church requirement, or do they have to study religious studies in your school board?
So do you want me to answer, Peter? Is that okay?
Oh, right ahead, Alex.
Yeah, so you have to remember that in Canada, our systems are publicly funded. So we are a state school governed by the state. So you don't have to be Catholic to attend our secondary schools. And approximately 2/3 of our students are Catholic, but 1/3 are not. So church is always invitational. Typically, the schools have a celebration once a month. It's invitational to students. So if they're not going to church, there would be work sessions at the school with their teachers or in the library. Many schools do participate because it is a community event and they like seeing new people. It's a nice way to connect. Our masses typically aren't onerous. It's 40 minutes, half an hour. The priests are usually very engaging because they're specifically picked for schools. In terms of our Catholic content, we do have the course that needs to be taken once a semester, but it's more of a culture and community course. Grade 11 is a world religion. Many of our students actually enjoy that course because many of our students are non-Catholic. When I graduated from grade 13 at Michael Power, the student who won the Catholic award for the highest mark in a Catholic course was actually from Hong Kong. She was from Hong Kong. So she was not Catholic. So I mean, it's very common to have non-Catholics enjoy the courses, do very well. And it's a very cultural and social course. So yes, they have to take one course a year. Not very onerous. Many of the students like it. Grade 11 is world religion, but they don't have to be Catholic. And they definitely don't go to church every day, nor do our students. I mean, once a month, there would be a service for the school, typically either before school or right after school, typically invitational. And many students enjoy going, regardless of their faith.
Great golf course is really a philosophy in a way. And Alex, in terms of the advantage of maybe that extra credit, do you want to mention that?
Yeah, so in our district, because of they have the 8th course is mandatory, the religion course. They actually can take one course with the continuing education department, as you're probably aware of. So they can take their 9th course either in night Saturday school or in summer school. In Saturday school, they can actually take a Cantonese course, or we have some students that take Korean or Japanese. Some students may take another language course, and all those can be used as their elective when they apply for university. So we give the students a lot of extra options. So with their tuition, they do get 9 courses, including the religion.
Okay, thank you. 咁嗱，我用廣東話複述一次啦。咁其實咧佢哋Toronto Catholic School Board 啦，雖然係一個 Catholic 嘅天主教 School Board 啦，但係由於佢哋係政府俾錢嘅，即係當地學生係唔使錢讀嘅，咁所以咧其實佢哋有2/3係天主教啦，但係有1/3嘅學生咧係冇宗教信仰嘅。咁佢哋一個月要去一次教堂，咁但係咧你唔去咧可以留喺圖書館度做 project 嘅。咁另外有啲大時大節嗰啲可以一齊過聖誕節啊、Easter 啊嗰啲咁正常都可以有活動嘅。咁另外咧佢哋就一年咧會有個宗教社會咁樣嘅學科咧係要 take 嘅，係啦。咁但係就真係佢話好多冇宗教信仰嘅同學其實都 enjoy 呢一個科目嘅咁樣咯。Okay, so sorry, Jessica, we are eating in your time, but we have got more questions coming. Surely this one you can join.有家長就問啊，咁除咗 host family 啊，咁有冇 boarding 咧？我可以答你冇嘅，不過咧可以再問下兩個 school board. So for the 2 school board, apart from homestay families, do you offer any other sort of option for the parents?
So I mean, I can speak for
Yep.
for our district. Unlike private schools, we don't have any boarding facilities as such yet. The reason for the homestay and not the boarding situation, unless you're going to Upper Canada College or to like a top-notch private school, many of the boarding situations are primarily Cantonese or Mandarin-speaking students. So it really does the kids a disservice. If you're going to bring them from Hong Kong to Toronto to be in a community which is primarily Chinese-speaking, I'm not sure if that's the kind of education I'd want for my child. By placing them in a Canadian homestay, they're actually they receive the influence of our culture. They're speaking English more often. They're integrating with the community. They're getting the full experience in addition to school. If you're in a boarding school where the majority of students are Mandarin speaking, and many of those in Hamilton are, or north of the city, or smaller schools in Toronto, private schools with boarding are, I don't think that's the kind of education I would want for my child, but parents need to make their own choices. The homestay gives them a more enriched experience, in my opinion. I'm sure Jessica will have a comment too.
Thank you, Alex. I totally agree. Similar to TCDSB, York Region District School Board, we also have 2 board-approved homestay service partners that we work with. They are Canada-wide professional homestay services providers. They offer very well-selected homestay choices to our students. And we really emphasize for students their safety and the support from the families when they are studying by themselves here in Canada with York Region. Of course, our department as well as our schools will support the student, but they're not in our schools 24 hours per day. So we do emphasize the importance of support from homestay families selected and approved by the board. And of course, for our board, we do allow students coming to live with their own relatives and family friends. And of course, if the parents are coming to live with them, this is definitely acceptable by YRDSB. And if the parents are visitors, then they can get a visitor visa from Immigration Canada very easily. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Peter, and thank you, Alex and Jessica. 好，咁咧其實咧，我喺呢度都講一講啦。咁其實絕大部分嘅school board 咧，其實佢哋都冇 boarding 嘅，係啦。咁可能咧呢個就呢位家長少少失望啦。咁但係我哋嚟緊星期日嘅 session 咧，咁嗰啲學校係有 boarding 嘅。咁但係咧，當然個 international student 嘅比例就會大啲啊，因為佢哋會收多啲國際學生嘅。Okay, so there's one last question for you two, and maybe potentially later in the breakout room session as well. There's one parent asking that his kid is currently Form 2 in Hong Kong, 14 years old, and do you still accept him to study grade 9 in September to Toronto? I assume it's a big yes, but and I answer him. I actually answer him privately, but it's good to raise a question here. So I am inviting the parents to go into one-to-one breakout room later to talk to you guys about maybe the result and which school they prefer, or any preference or any personal interest they are having. So this one I'll leave it later to the one-to-one section. 咁我家長咧咁就問小朋友而家中二12歲，咁嚟緊9月去多倫多升學嗰啲啦，可唔可以咧？咁其實係可以嘅，就睇咩嘢咧？視乎你而家嘅成績啦，視乎你想揀啲咩學校啦。咁陣間咧Jessica 咧都會同你講翻佢有啲咩學校嘅。咁但係咧 YDSB 咧就比較受歡迎啲啦，咁所以咧佢哋嗰個有啲 top 嘅學校咧，有啲都已經滿咗位㗎啦。咁所以咧就視乎你睇緊咩學校啊，或者係你想要嗰間學校係俾到啲咩嘢你啦，咁我哋會再同你安排。咁但係咧，如果你話擔心英文麻麻地嘅，陣間咧喺1對1嘅 session 嘅時候咧，咁其實我哋嘅同事咧都會入去嗰個 breakout room 嗰度啦，咁同你一齊問學校同埋一齊解答翻你嘅。咁你唔使擔心話我淨係講廣東話會唔會搞唔掂啊？咁都唔會嘅，你廣東話講，咁我哋用英文幫你問完之後咧，咁用廣東話答翻你咁樣嘅。咁所以咧陣間可以就住你嘅情況咧，咁可以去翻嗰個 one to one 嘅 session 嗰度同你去講嘅。So I'm just saying that because the parent did type Chinese to me, I'm just saying that if the parent is needed, we can always go in the one-to-one breakout room together with the parents, so we can do a little bit of the translation. But I believe that they can, come in and ask questions, and we can help translate, and you can provide a very good choice of school to the parents to suit the students' need. OK， 咁嚟緊仲有冇其他問題咧？如果冇咧，我就將個時間交俾 Jessica. So if there's not any questions for now, I'll pass the time to Jessica to briefly introduce WOW DSP and the school board. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Again, I want to bring our greetings from our Director of Education from York Region District School Board, Luis Cerisco, as well as greetings from my superintendent, Dr. Claudia de la Riviere, and my principal, Lisa Jeremic from International Education Services. And thank you for attending today's session. And special thanks also goes to Skyreach Education and the team. And thank you for organizing this wonderful session for all the parents and us as educators from Canada. And also, it's been a great pleasure for me to be working together with you, Peter and Alex. Great to be working again together. And thank you for a very thorough, professional, and very inspiring presentation earlier that you've done. I've learned a lot, certainly. And then I think after your presentation, some slides that I prepared, I'm just going to skip them because you covered them more thoroughly than I do. And thank you again. My name is Jessica Lee. I'm the Marketing and Recruitment Officer. I work with the International Education Services Department of the York Region District School Board. A little bit information about myself. I came to Canada for probably more than 20 years ago to attend my master's degree studies in a university in Ontario. And I later immigrated to and lived in York Region for over 20 years. I have two kids, one in high school, one in elementary school. And I've been working in the department for over 15, 16 years. It's been a great pleasure to see different generations of international students coming and then be very successful in their academic studies as well as their life. And I enjoyed the learning and interacting with our families and with our partners as well as with our students. I do speak, because I come from China. My native language is Mandarin, but I do understand Cantonese 100%. Unfortunately, I speak very little Cantonese, so I can understand, but I don't speak Cantonese well enough, but I do understand. So if you feel comfortable, you're more than welcome to communicate with me in Cantonese, and then I'll try my best to reply in Cantonese if I can. Thank you very much. Some very brief introduction about our program, as Peter and Alex mentioned, and John also mentioned, that Canada has been one of the destination countries for K-12 students seeking international education opportunities. We are very proud that from different provinces have been supporting our international students coming from all over the world. And that brings a very unique international students community, as well as international student services providers community working together. In terms of Ontario, we are the largest province in Canada in terms of population. We're also very proud that here in Ontario, we have very good higher education and learning opportunities for both our domestic students as well as our international students. Alex and Peter mentioned big name universities here in Ontario, also in Canada. We actually have 22 public universities. Some of them are renowned, especially for our families from Hong Kong, such as University of Toronto, McMaster University, Western University, where I graduated from. And we also have very good colleges system here in Ontario. We have 24 public colleges. And some of our international students and families come to Canada and they want to pursue a college diploma rather than a university degree. And certainly Ontario offers lots of opportunities for them as well. Very diverse population. Here in Ontario, we have people coming from different culture and ethnic backgrounds, and over 200 languages were spoken in Ontario. And the Greater Toronto Area, which our board and the Toronto Catholic boards are located, and is the most populous metropolitan area in Canada. This map shows where York Region is located, and thank you, John. You've given the families a very thorough introduction about the area. Yes, York Region is located in the Greater Toronto Area. And this is a bigger map where it shows all of our 9 different municipalities within York Region. So sometimes when parents ask, I do introduce ourselves as a 2-layer government. In terms of the municipality, it is called York Region. So you see the whole red area here. And when you talk about different cities, I know my family's from Hong Kong, you're very familiar. You may have relatives, and sometimes you may have lived in our region and you're familiar with the cities like Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan, Aurora, Newmarket, etc. So that's in our cities and town level. That is also part of the York Region District School Board. And as you can see, Toronto Catholic and York Region were really next door neighbors, next to each other. The street that north of the street of Steeles Avenue is York Region, south of Steeles Avenue is Toronto. So the whole area in the Greater Toronto Area, all the public school boards, and I believe majority of the Catholic school boards are opening our doors to welcome international students and to provide support for their success. I have a very short video that I want to share with you and to showcase how York Region looks like. So the video shows you how York Region looks like. We are very proud that out of our 9 different municipalities, and we have both the small town charms and big city amenities. And our land is big. We have over 1,700 square kilometers piece of area. However, our population is pretty small. We only have over 1.1 million population living in this big piece of land. And our population is pretty diverse, very safe and inclusive communities. In terms of our residents who has a university degree, we ranked number 4 all over in all cities in Canada. Here's a map that shows, and also a table shows you our population in terms of different municipalities. And as you can see, cities like Markham, Richmond Hill, and Vaughan are much bigger compared to other cities. I've been living in Richmond Hill for over 15 years, and I moved to Aurora right now, and I love all the cities. It's a great place to raise families and to live and work with. Also, York Region, we are very proud that we have a very safe and convenient public transit system. In terms of our economy, we are the top 10 large municipalities in Canada for economic growth and one of Ontario's largest business centers. And also, we are one of the most popular places for new Canadians or new immigrants to live when they arrive in Canada. In terms of our arts and culture, different places of tourist attractions, we have Wonderland, we have Vaughan Mills, which is one of Canada's biggest outlet malls. We also have lakes, much smaller compared to Lake Ontario. Lake Simcoe is part of our region, and we also have some other smaller lakes, and definitely tons of rivers. Are very rich in culture and great communities to live with and enjoy life. Some basic information about York Region District School Board. We are the top ranking district school board here in Ontario, and we are public funded by the Ministry of Education here in Ontario. And we are also a big board, one of the biggest in Ontario. We have 213 schools, 180 of them are elementary schools. We follow the elementary and secondary school system. So all of our schools in elementary panels, well, not all, majority of them, they have grade junior kindergarten up to grade 8, and all of our secondary schools are grade 9 to grade 12. So we don't have a middle school school system here in our area. So secondary school students will be going to our high schools, one of the 33. Out of the 33 secondary schools, we have 23 open to international students for the coming September 2022. We have, currently we have over 128,000 students. That includes about 1,200 international students coming from about 36 countries all over the world. And our staff members, we have many teachers, principals, business and management people like me working for the board. And we have 13,000 staff members. Our students and families speak over 100 different languages, and our international students services and education programs have been one of the biggest here in Ontario as well as in Canada. We really open our doors to our international students through different programs, both in long-term as well as in short-term programs. So our long-term program students, if they want to come and enroll into our school year, they can come either in September or February, and they can choose according to their needs, whether they want to go to one of our elementary schools, elementary schools or secondary schools. And we have students as young as age 4 and attending our schools as international students. And of course, secondary school or high school education, most of our students coming and they want to pursue high school studies with us. Short-term programs also provide a great opportunity for those students who are new to our program, to the country, or who are not sure whether they want to have the long-term commitment. But they want to test the water and to see how the system works and to really live here and to get a first-hand knowledge and experience of living in York Region. So we open our doors to them. For instance, this summer, we have a short-term program called the Summer ESL Credit Program. And students can come and attend this program for 4 weeks. If they pass this program, they pass the course, and they will be able to receive 1 Ontario certified credit from high school. And that credit, they can bring it back to their home country, or if they want to continue either in the future or in September with our program, and they can carry that credit over to their learning paths. Our new international students in secondary panels, they also have the opportunity to attend our 2-week orientation program. This is a good opportunity for our new students to meet our teachers, to meet our current international students, also other peers who are new to the region, make friends, and then to get familiarized with the system. And also we will test them for their English and math level to better prepare them to start their learning journey in our schools. This is just a photo because sometimes parents would ask that Ontario secondary school diploma. We know it's your high school graduation diploma. So I give you a picture. It looks like this. I would say 95% of my secondary school students coming to attend schools in York Region, they want to continue, they want to graduate and then continue to post-secondary pathways. So Ontario Secondary School Diploma a program is a very popular one. I know specifically for Hong Kong, students wants to come to attend our schools. And these are some pictures of our winter orientation program. I know that students coming from Hong Kong probably never lived in an area that our winter is a little bit colder compared to your home country, but we do different variety of different activities and learning and teaching experiences with our new students during the 2-week program, and to welcome them and to build relationship, and then to make sure that they feel confident and they're familiar, and then they know somebody is there for them if they have any questions when they start their new learning in our schools. These are some pictures of our summer program. Similar to TCDSB, York Region District School Board also runs a International Education Services Office. That's where I work from. And we have our own Superintendent of Education, Dr. Clelia Della Rivere, who used to be our principal. We also have our own principal of international education. Her name is Lisa Jeremick. And then in our department, we have about 13, 12 people team working specifically to support our international community. Whether the students are applying, have inquiries or questions about our schools, or to support our current school students studying in our schools. We have admissions office, student liaison teams, and they speak different languages. We also have teachers speaking Cantonese to support students who are coming from Hong Kong. We have our marketing team, accounting. We even have a designated social worker to support our international students. So in terms of IES, International Education Services, once the student comes into attending our schools also work together with our department to support our families and students, whether it's from our administrators, our different teachers, or even through different school clubs, extracurricular activities, because we think it's very important to student success that they attend after school activities offered by the school. With the pandemic coming to an end, and we hope to offer more opportunities to get our international students involved. We also offer our high schools offer free peer tutoring services where students will be coaching together with another student and to build relationship. Jonathan mentioned that some of our schools are already full for September. Here is a list of our secondary schools. We have 23 secondary schools open to international students. We opened our application process back in December last year, and our application for September entrance will be ending May 15th. Fortunately, we still have some spaces available in the highlighted schools. That schools that you can see highlighted in yellow, there are still spaces available. And other schools that I didn't highlight, they are full as of now. However, if you really want to go there and for September, do let us know, because sometimes we may have students who are withdrawing due to visa denial, for instance. And if space becomes available, we're happy to assist our families monitoring our spaces, and then by putting them on a wait list for a short period of time. A lot of schools in the Markham area, as you can see, are very popular for our Hong Kong students and families, and as well as Richmond Hill and Wong. And these are the areas that majority of our schools open to international students are located. Very convenient in terms of the location, and also convenient for parents if you are coming to live with your child or you have relatives who will be supporting your children. And also in the city of Aurora, Newmarket, and King and Stouffville, we have different schools opening to international students. We want to make sure that all of our international students will be able to receive English as a second language support, ESL learning support if they need that. So in all 23 schools here listed, and they all offer ESL language support program. And our schools, other than ESL, offers AP programs, some of them. STEAM program, co-op has been popular, and specialized high skills major programs are also popular among our international students. We also offer international languages programs where we have many different languages that students can learn during the weekday evenings or Saturday mornings. There are also secondary school credit programs in terms of learning an international language. Popular languages like Japanese, Mandarin, Cantonese, even Farsi, Italian, we offer them all. And we also have night schools and summer schools if the students need to catch up with their learning. I prepared another video. This is a video from one of our international students. She graduated already during COVID. She's from Thailand, and her name is Yam. We interviewed her and asked her a couple of questions. We think that it's better that our students and families listen to our own student voices and to see their experience themselves. So here's Yam from Thailand.
Hi, my name is Yam Washirala Paitun. I'm from Thailand. I go to Bond Secondary School and I'm in grade 12.
Okay, why did you choose YDSB to study?
I didn't know much about Canada before I came here to study, but I did some research and I think that York Region is an area that's full of opportunities, places to go, and it's multicultural and not too populated. And the schools here in YDSB are also in good ranking, so that's why I decided to come here.
What are the challenges and how did you overcome them, and who can you reach out for help?
The challenge for me personally is meeting new people and making friends because I'm a shy person, but the people here are really nice and friendly, so it's easy to do that. And after a while, I started saying hi to my classmates and got involved in the community and at school, and eventually I knew more people and made more friends.
Do you have any future plan and how teachers can support you?
I'm planning to go to a university either in Canada or the States. I'm still deciding on what program I want to do, but I'm interested in health, something in biology or psychology.
Is there any school involvement, volunteer, leadership opportunities available to you?
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get involved here in YDSB as there are many opportunities available throughout York Region as well as from the school board and the school itself. at school, you can join sport teams, a music repertoire, you can be a part of the student body, and there are a lot of clubs with different interests like arts, foreign languages, community service, and science. And if they don't have a club that you're interested in, you can easily start your own club. And outside of school, there are also a lot of places like nonprofit organizations, public libraries, and YDSB, where you can find volunteer opportunities and get experience.
How has the orientation program helped you?
The orientation program gave me some insight of what Canada is like its culture and people, what the schools are like, and helped me understand a bit more of the Ontario curriculum so that I can fit in more easily and get ready for school. And I also got to meet new people and make friends before school starts.
So that's just some of Yen's personal experiences. We want to share this student voice with you before we mention very briefly about our application process. Straightforward, I'm not going to go to details. Fees, as Jonathan mentioned, a very competitive fees. This is our tuition fee for high school for 1 year. For the new students, it's $16,050. Our elementary grade, junior kindergarten to grade 8, it's $15,300. And students do need to pay a $300 application fee, as well as the medical insurance that covers 13 months. And the amount is $520. Our application process, as I mentioned, September we start in December, and the deadline is May 15th. And we then fairly quickly open our doors for February registrations in July. And our application deadline is November 15th. We do require a couple of documents such as school report cards and school's recommendation letters. And for students who are going to be applying to attend grade 12, we do require IELTS or TOEFL official test results. And our minimum requirement for language for grade 12 applicant only is 5.5 in IELTS. This is a table shows you our students' birth year chart. We follow strictly for our elementary school students. However, for secondary school students, we look at both their year of birth as well as their current school history, and to make sure that we can place the student in the right grade that they need to. I'm not going to be talking about the custodian homestay. We work with 2 homestay partner organizations approved by the board. The first one is called Canada Homestay Network. The other one is MLI Homestay. And they offer both custodianship services as well as homestay programs. Of course, students, if they have parent to live with them, or they have family relative or family friend who will be their custodian and provide private homestay to them from these relatives or family friends, and we do allow that. I'm going to mention very briefly right now, we are current grade 8 students, international students, and they can apply to one of our regional arts programs, schools for secondary school learning. They are Alexander Mackenzie High School in Richmond Hill and Huron High Secondary School in Newmarket, as well as Unionville High School in Markham. And all these schools offer specialized regional arts program in 4 different areas, whether they're dance or drama, visual arts, or music. And these programs, students do need to apply and then go through an audition process to be selected and chosen. If they pass the process, and then they can then attend these schools in their specialized programs. We follow a first come, first serve basis principle in terms of our admission. So we do encourage families to prepare early and then reach out to us if they have any questions, and then we'll be able to assist you to go smoothly through your application process. And we encourage you to stay connected with us either through our website or through our different social media accounts that were run by our schools or IES office or the school board itself. So that comes to the end of my presentation, and I'll pass it over to you, John.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. Okay, 咁都好多謝 Jessica 同我哋分享 RDSB 嘅情況啦。咁我明白可能有啲家長咧心目中可能會有啲學校咧，可能喺嗰個list 度未必見到啦，或者係想查詢關於譬如你個地址或者邊啲學校比較好嘅，咁都歡迎你哋咧係各自同我哋去再傾啦，或者同學校再傾關於你哋小朋友嘅實際嘅情況啦。因為譬如就算你好想入某一間學校咁，但係其實如果你成績學校係唔 OK， 其實都未必收到你。咁所以咧都要睇翻你本身小朋友嘅成績啦，而去再去同你再去傾嘅。咁通常一般嚟講咧我哋或者學校啦，咁都會要求過去2至3年嘅成績表去參考下啦。咁另外咧，譬如你有啲咩獎狀啊，你攞過啲咩特別嘅嘢啊等等，咁其實咧都可以係攞嚟作為一個入學嘅參考嘅。咁另一樣嘢嘅因素就係，如果譬如你有某啲嘅屋企人可能唔可以做你嗰個監護人嘅佢嘅地址啦，因為咧都唔可以容許你住得嗰個地方太遠嘅，即係譬如即係一個喺東一個喺西嘅，咁你返學好困難，咁其實就未必係可以俾你咁做㗎啦。咁都要睇返呢樣嘢。咁然後咧就如果嗰個地址或者個屋企唔容許嘅，咁homestay 配唔配合到啦？咁咧啱啱即係都要同你哋 mention 啦。咁Jessica 介紹嘅2間嘅 homestay 公司啦 ，MLI 同埋 Canadian Homestay Network 咧，咁其實我哋都會幫手同你哋去做一個即係揾 homestay 同埋個配對嘅。咁另外咧，Toronto Catholic 咧亦都有認可嘅homestay 嘅 program 啦。咁我哋亦都係同佢哋係有合作嘅。咁所以大家係揾寄宿家庭嘅時候咧，就唔需要太擔心。咁容許我喺度講多少少揾寄宿家庭嘅情況啦。咁通常咧我哋都會有一啲嘅criteria 咧，係俾啲homestay 公司嘅，譬如話佢哋會有問卷啦，問你譬如你中唔中意小動物啊、小朋友啊，譬如我哋會講話希望嗰個屋企溝通嘅語言，譬如要係英文啊咁樣啦。咁另外佢會問你一啲興趣，譬如會唔會中意打波啊，定係打機啊咁樣。跟住咧佢會再同你做 matching 嘅，即係就唔係亂咁話我要申請 homestay 就求其揾嘅最近嘅俾你啦，就唔係嘅。咁都係會係揾翻一啲同你意向，即係譬如我好驚小朋友或者我好驚小動物，咁你喺嗰個questionnaire 嗰度剔咗話我唔要呢啲嘢，咁佢哋就會同你去做呢方面嘅配對，咁唔使擔心話我即係咪亂咁屈個 homestay 俾我，咁就唔係嘅，咁唔需要太擔心。係啦，咁我哋都會同 homestay 公司去合作啦，去做關於即係呢個配對嘅，係啦，係啦，咁各位家長，咁我哋嘅分享暫時就去到呢度啦。咁嚟緊咧就係 Q&A 同埋 breakout room 嘅 session 啦。So thank you again for Alex and Peter and Jessica for your sharing. Now it's the breakout room and Q&A session. We are welcoming all for questions and welcoming all to join in breakout room if they wanted to. 係啦，咁如果家長有其他嘅問題嘅，可以喺 chat box 嗰度問我哋啦。另外咧就係可以喺WhatsApp 嗰度錄音俾我哋又得，或者用中文問我哋又得，或者你開麥直接問學校都得嘅。咁我哋接下來嘅時間咧，咁就係一個 Q&A 或者係 breakout room 嘅 session 啦。咁如果各位家長係其實咧都可以繼續喺度等，譬如其他嘅家長問問題，你喺聽下佢哋問咩都可以嘅，係啦。好咁有家長就問啦，學生可唔可以 transfer 香港嘅 credit 去加拿大啦？ 咁呢個我可以答你少少先嘅，咁詳細就喺個 school book 嗰度答你啦。咁係可以嘅，咁但係咧就視乎你本身而家讀緊啲咩嘢啦，要視乎學校可以同你對到幾多個 credit 啦。咁一般嚟講咧，加拿大即係你要高中畢業啦，咁啊讀30個 credit 啦，由第9班開始計，咁啊8個、6個 credit 咁樣嘅。一般嚟講，如果你冇乜嘢唔合格，正常都對到大部分嘅。咁但係如果你成張成績表都唔合格晒㗎啦，咁就有啲 credit 就未必 transfer 得到啦。咁但係咧都要視乎嗰個 school board 去決定，譬如你嗰啲科目啱唔啱啦，亦都視乎你將來想做啲咩嘢嘅。包括係譬如你第時假設你想做護士，咁然後咧做護士係需要讀Bio同 Chem。咁但係咧，可能你高中淨係讀咗Bio冇讀 Chem 嘅，咁你個 Chem 已經唔夠 credit 啦，咁個 Chem 咧就要由11班嘅 Chem 開始讀上去，再讀埋12班嘅 Chem 啊咁樣啦。咁所以咧，yes and no 嘅 yes 咧就係可以 transfer credit，咁 no 咧就係未必 transfer 到晒全部 credit。OK，so 咁剩低咧可以問埋 school board 啦。So Peter, Alex and Jessica。There's a parents who ask about transferring Hong Kong's credit to Canada. I had very briefly introduced it. It is a yes to transfer credit, but it also depends on what subject they want to do. Because if they never do that subject before, then you hardly carry credits over because they've never done that subject before. But surely, Peter, Alex, Jessica, you can explain a little bit more on the transfer credit system from Hong Kong to Canada to answer the question. Thank you. Maybe Alex, Peter, you can go first.
Sure, I can do it, Peter, if you like. So in terms of transfer credits, we really need an official copy of their transcript, translated copy. The good news is 99.9% of the students from Hong Kong would receive 24 credits if they've completed grade 11 Hong Kong. So there's been no issues. In terms of prerequisites, the only ones that are really of our concern are the math and the English. Mathematics, students coming from Hong Kong are usually at grade level or beyond, so never an issue. And then the ESL, as Jessica mentioned, the IELTS, the TOEFL score is a bit of an indication, the number of years they've been studying English. The majority of students from Hong Kong, to be honest with you, are either ESL C or D. Those from international schools are ESL E, which means they can join the regular stream, grade 11 English. So most students finishing 3 years of high school in Hong Kong would be able to take the majority of the courses in grade 11 or grade 12 level. There usually are not that many issues. In terms of prerequisites that you alluded to, John, it would be something like art or business. If you wanted to start taking a business course and you didn't have the prerequisite, then you'd have to have a discussion with the school. Sometimes they can waive the prerequisite. Other times you can take it either in night school or summer school and then take it. The good news is those courses typically only have one prerequisite. So either in one night school session or one summer school session, you can take the prerequisite and then take the 4U in day school the following year. So typically prerequisites are not something that would limit the students' ability to take courses in Canada. And most students get full equivalency for their credits taken in Hong Kong.
Thank you, Alex.
I think Alex explained it in great details. I have nothing to add on. And same situation with YRDSB. We had no issues. 99% of our students coming from Hong Kong, they do get their credit equivalency transferred to us as long as that they bring the official school report cards. And then our guidance counselors will be sitting down and working together with them and then to grant them the equivalent credits.
Okay, thank you. How about I have one question for both of you because it's an extension of that part of the question, and because many of the results, well, many of the schools are actually quite harsh on students in Hong Kong. They fail quite a bit of the subjects to encourage the student work harder next term, but they can still progress, but they didn't get a pass. So for those students who didn't get, you know, if they have a few failed subjects in their transcript or reports, do you still take them or do you still think the credit can be transferred?
Do you want to answer? I don't mind answering. It doesn't matter. I mean, for our district, obviously, if they're not successful in the credit, so all the report cards will say the minimum mark to obtain a credit. If the credit does not show earned, then it would not be transferred to an equivalency credit. We would, however, still accept the student. So, for example, if they did poorly in mathematics, they could repeat the course, they can upgrade the course. However, they would not be granted the equivalency credit unless they earn the credit.
Same as YRDSB, if they didn't pass the course in the home country, and we unfortunately will not be able to transfer that credit equivalency into the Ontario system. And also for York Region District School Board, in terms of our entrance admissions requirement, our general rule is that we do require all of our applicants to achieve a 65% average in the past 2 school years, as well as the current school year. Having said that, we understand that different students and may have different situations. We will be happy to assess the students' report cards if SkyReach Education team send it over to us before you submit the application officially through our online system. And then we'll be happy to have a look at it and do a initial evaluation and to see. Normally, even if the student didn't pass, but as long as that they meet our minimum requirement on an average basis, and we'll be happy to accept the student. And for York Region District School Board, we also have a requirement for our current students, meaning that once you come and you learn 1 year with us, and next year when it's time for the student to renew and continue their study, we do require that our international students to maintain an average that is satisfactory to us and hopefully maintain that average of 65%. We monitor all student progresses, and that if we identify that some students do need support in specific subjects or in all subjects, and we will be working very closely together with our schools, our guidance counselors and subject teachers to support the student whenever we identified that a need is there.
Okay, thank you, Jessica and Alex. So this helped answer quite a number of questions because as I said before, students from Hong Kong, some of the schools are quite harsh on the reports. I'm not sure if you're aware, but it's pretty standard in Hong Kong, especially in top school. When they think they fail the student will work hard next term. But I know it doesn't work like that in anywhere else in the world, but things happen in Hong Kong. So yeah, so 係啦，啱啱咧嗰位家長問嘅問題咧，咁啱啱就答咗你啦。咁咧，如果啦佢本身個成績係合格晒嘅話咧，其實嗰啲 credit 咧就都應該都 transfer 得到晒。咁但係如果你成張成績表都唔合格，咁其實唔合格嗰啲咧就 transfer 唔到嘅嗰啲 credit。咁所以咧都要睇翻你過去嗰2、3年嘅成績表啦。咁視乎你去乜嘢 grade 啦，咁就先至睇得到你transfer 到幾多嘅credit 過去嘅。咁我想有一個note 啦，就係咧，我相信呢個 transfer credit 咧，其實淨係 for 高中，即係由 grade 9開始。咁如果你話咁小學咁唔需要咩 transfer credit 啦。So Alex, just to I saw Jessica knocking her head, so I assume that she understands what I'm saying. But I just want to double check with Alex. So this transfer credit thing is only really for secondary school, nothing to do with elementary.
It is not. No, elementary is based on the age.
Okay, understood. 係啦，咁咧就elementary 咧，即係小學或者初中啦，咁啊唔需要嚟嗰啲 transfer credit 嘅。咁安省啦，佢哋個中學或者高中課程咁啊 grade 9開始啦，咁啊由咁啊，所以如果你本身香港讀緊中1或者香港讀緊中2嘅，咁過去 grade 9咁就係叫做入高中啦。咁啊你香港讀緊中2都冇乜特別咩 credit 要 transfer 嘅，因為你個高中嘅課程由0開始讀。咁但係如果你本身已經係中3、中4、中5咧，咁就要留意呢一個 credit 嘅部分啦。Okay, so I've got another question that she has got a friend taking grade 9 course from an Ontario online school. will this help in transfer the credit? I answered her already is a yes. So he can take grade 10 course when arriving in Ontario. Well, I think it depends on how many credits the kid is doing in the grade 9 Ontario online school. If she only, or he or she only did 1 or 2 credits, then obviously it will also depend on the current academic transcript. If he doesn't really did 8 credits or enough credits or enough passing credits, then obviously he will need to do some grade 9 credits to compensate it. Okay, I saw you knocking your head as well, so I assume that there is an answer.
The only thing I would add is that they wouldn't have to repeat a credit that they've earned. So if they took math and they earned the credit, they would take grade 10 math, but they may be in grade 9 English if English is not the language they took. It all depends on the credit that they took.
Yes, correct. Okay, thank you. 係啦，咁咧啱啱答咗啦，咁啊視乎佢攞咩 credit 啦，攞嗰個 credit 係咪攞到 credit 啦，視乎佢喺香港係其他嘅科係點。即係譬如果佢喺香港讀2個 Ontario credit，但係佢其他香港本身讀譬如讀8科，但係咧得2科合格嘅，咁佢咪得4個 credit 可以帶去 Ontario。即係如果佢其他嗰6科炒晒嘅話，咁咧就淨係可以攞4個 credit 去 Ontario。咁如果係咁嘅話咧，你就唔夠 credit 讀 grade 10㗎啦。咁咧可能你要補翻4個 grade 9嘅科啦，然後再讀先至再上去讀 grade 10，亦都視乎你有咩 credit 係合格定唔合格。咁咧都要睇翻佢過去嘅成績表嘅。咁啊希望解答到你啦。
Yeah, and keep in mind, they could submit 2 transcripts, right? So if they're taking 2 online Ontario credits, but they're still in day school in Hong Kong, they could submit their Hong Kong transcript plus their Ontario. So they can actually earn 10 equivalency credits in grade 9 if they've taken 10 credits. They're not limited to 8. They can do 9, 10, or 11 credits in grade 9 if they take extra courses.
Yes, understood. OK， 咁咧啱啱咧 Alex 就講啦，其實唔係淨係1、2個 credit 嘅，可以攞多啲 credit，就視乎你讀緊啲咩嘢，同埋讀緊幾多嘅 credit 嘅，係啦咁樣嘅。好，咁咧就係希望解答到你。咁咧仲有冇其他問題咧？ So any further questions? We are also waiting here for another maybe 5 minutes. 係啦，咁咧我知道香港嘅時間都稍夜啦，咁咧如果你仲有問題嘅，當然可以繼續喺留言嗰度問我哋啦，或者 WhatsApp 問我哋嘅。So I don't think there are any further questions at the moment, but what we'll do is we'll send today's recording to them, and we'll ask if they got any further questions. We'll collect them and we'll put it in an email, or if there's a student specifically asking for schools, we will send those reports and inquiries over. And maybe we can put you and the parents into the email loop, and you can answer them directly from there. So 咁今日可能時間都比較夜啦，咁咧如果冇其他問題咧，可能就可以去到 OK。仲有一個問題 ，so there's one more question. So the parent asked, does Ontario has provisional examination like any other places?
I mean, I can take that. No, I mean, there are some standard tests for in grade 10. There is an English test that student must pass to graduate. That's the one graduation requirement. There are standard tests in grade 9, 3, and 6 on mathematics, mainly to gather information. They don't. Grade English proficiency test is the one.
So apart from the English proficiency test, sorry, Peter, it's a little bit loose connection.
Oh, he lost connection.
Um,
So Ontario does have 3 unique graduation expectations now. One of them is the literacy test, or there's a course if they're unsuccessful. There's also community service, which has been decreased to 20 hours during the pandemic, but it'll probably go back up to 40. So the literacy test or course, the 40 hours, and then starting, I believe, next June or the June after, it's 2 online courses. So every Ontario student will have to complete at least 2 online asynchronous courses, which can be done in night school, summer school, or day school. They're quite good, actually. So those are the 3 unique graduation requirements in addition to the 30 credits.
so can I ask,
None of which have ever been a concern for international students. They've had no difficulty with the English and C proficiency, no difficulty with the community service, and they'll definitely have no difficulty with the asynchronous coursework.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
The
biggest pressure point, to be honest with you, for students from Hong Kong is the English, right? Because they're competing with English speaking students. So if they can arrive in grade 11, that's ideal. Or if they're studying in an international school where they're fully immersed in English. But I've visited a few international schools in Hong Kong. Some are excellent, some are not the greatest. So it really depends. If they're in an international school and they're writing essays in English, they'll do quite well in Ontario. If they're in an international school and they're doing multiple choice tests in English, not writing in English a lot, then they're not going to be able to complete in 1 year. So like the Canadian International School in Aberdeen, I've seen them, they're quite strong. Those students could easily graduate in 1 year in Ontario. But if you're going to some of the schools, we saw one once where they were doing a grade 11 English course and it was primarily multiple choice. That's not something they'll encounter in Canada. There's rarely multiple choice questions in English. They would all be written responses. So that student probably will take 2 years of English. Mathematics, most students from Hong Kong do quite well. Biology, science, physics, they'll actually find it easier than what they're doing in Hong Kong. So the biggest challenge is really that English, grade 12 English credit that every program in Ontario or in Canada will require for admissions, that 4U English. And our district has a few options for students for them to do the course either in the summer or asynchronously. So there's different options for taking that course as well. But we can meet further, further down the road to discuss the options.
Okay, thank you. 係啦，咁咧其實咧安省就唔算係一個省市啦，咁佢有啲叫做畢業嘅要求啦。咁畢業要求就係包括喺疫情前就40個鐘嘅社會服務啦，咁疫情嘅時候就減到20個鐘啦。咁另外咧ENG 4U 即係呢個英文咧係必須要修讀嘅。咁另外咧就亦都要有一啲嘅我相信係11班一定要數學啦、science 啦，咁一定要有呢啲 credit 啦，先至可以畢到業。咁其實佢哋又會有啲叫做 credit 嘅表㗎，咁咧即係好似剔格仔咁樣嘅。你讀咗啲咩嘢，你有啲咩嘢即係需要嘅，咁佢會同你剔好晒咁樣，咁你先至攞到嗰個滿足到晒嗰啲條件啦，咁先至攞到個OSSD 嘅 diploma 嘅畢業證書嘅。咁學校都會同你去即係會俾科你揀啦，亦都會同你睇下你咪真係畢到業嘅，咁所以就唔需要太擔心呢樣嘢，係啦。好，咁我哋都仲有一個問題。Okay, so we've got sorry for muting because I've got questions which is a voice message question. Okay, So there's one parent asking, because especially for Jessica, because the parent is seeking the kid to do wild DSP. So the kid is now Form 2, 14 years old, currently 14. And they would like to consider to study in wild DSP in coming September. Is he eligible for grade 9? Because he saw on the chart, she saw on the chart that grade 9 needs to be 15, but it is just 14 now. Is it still okay to do it?
Jessica, I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. Unfortunately, I have to go. I have another issue I have to take care of. I wanted to thank SkyReach for having me. Jessica, wonderful presentation. York Region is a wonderful board as well. Alex is going to stay behind and answer any questions parents may have, and he'll stay as long as he can. And I urge parents to reach out to us directly if they want one-on-one meetings. They can do that through Alex, through SkyReach, and we will certainly do that. So I apologize for having to leave, but I thank you all so much for your attention and for giving us this opportunity to highlight the Toronto Catholic District School Board. Wishing you all a good evening.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
See you later, Peter.
Yeah, looking forward to see you in Canada. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Peter. Okay.
So the age really, I don't know, Jessica, I don't know if you're on the academic side or because I do the academic counseling, right? So Form 2 is the equivalent of grade 8. So yes, they would be able to enter grade 9. That's not an issue at all. You know, I'm sure York Region is the same. Form 2, once they finish Form 2, it's grade 8.
Same. As Alex mentioned that we will look at their academic history in the home country. So Form 2, if the student will be finishing Form 2 before he starts with us, and then we will be able to accept him into grade 9. We also need to look at, of course, we mentioned if the student is like 2 or 3 years older than our standard, than the Ontario standard age, and then we'll do some special considerations. But normally, my students coming from Hong Kong, they're either 1 year younger or 1 year older than the Ontario standard age. That is fine with us, especially with secondary school admissions. So the students' academic history in the home country is more important compared to their age. So we will be happy to accept the student into our grade 9 for September 2022 if the student meets our requirements. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Alex. So the parents have some ongoing questions. Sorry about that, to take you a little bit more time. But the question is also for Jessica. So the parent asked, she has got friends living in Richmond Hill. Is it possible to place her kid also in schools nearby Richmond Hill and homestay nearby Richmond Hill? I assume yes, if they meet the academic entry requirements. If they don't meet your academic requirement, then your school wouldn't take anyway. But the next question is for you as well, and for Alex as well. And she understands that your school provide ESL program. So do the students need to finish the ESL program before they enter the main program, or they do it concurrently?
So with York Region District School Board, the parents specifically mentioned Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill is one of the municipalities within our region that is very popular, especially to my families coming from Hong Kong. And as of now, if the student is interested in coming in September 2022, I still have schools in Richmond Hill. It's Lansdowne Secondary School. Great location, great school, great support to our international students, and that school is still available. I do have a couple of spaces available at that school, Lansdowne Secondary School in Richmond Hill for now, for September. Now, for the ESL program, normally if the students comes and then with York Region District School Board, we do before they start, actually after we accept the students, and then we'll send a online ESL assessment link to the family for the student to complete that, assessment piece, so that it gives us and the school more information about the student's ESL level. That is what we call the initial online assessment piece after the acceptance is confirmed. And then the second piece is that when the student arrives in York Region during the orientation program for our secondary school students, and then they will be tested or assessed face-to-face in person with one of the YRDSB assessors and to determine their ESL level. Now, student, if they decided that the student does need ESL support, and then the student will be placed in a ESL class. Normally for ESL D and above, the student may opt out and to go to regular stream English classes. Our ESL teachers and our department normally would recommend the student to complete the ESL pathway before they enter a regular English program. However, it's absolutely up to the parents and the student to decide if they do meet the requirement to go into the regular English pathway.
Yeah, and in terms of Toronto Catholic, our ESL again is a support program. So students would never take just ESL; they would be fully immersed in other classes. Obviously, they would not be so language heavy. So whether that would be physical education, mathematics, one of the sciences, the arts. But they would never take more than one ESL out of the 4 courses each semester. We also, like York Region, use pre-arrival English for the assessment piece and for some ESL support. So there's language classes on there they can do in advance. And we have orientation programs at the beginning of each semester. If the student wants to come early, they can actually do an intensive ESL program prior to the start. Many don't come early, but if they do, there is that option. But they would never take more than one ESL per semester, and they would be integrated in at least 3 other classes with the regular school community. We find that's one of the better ways of learning English, when they make English friends, have lunch with English speaking students, practice their English in the classroom setting, in addition to the ESL classroom.
Okay, thank you, Alex as well. 咁用廣東話翻嚟啦。咁學校咧係即係首先咧，佢喺如果錄取嘅時候啦，咁譬如YRDSB 啦，咁佢哋就會喺錄取咗，咁就會 send out 一個叫做即係 English test 嘅 assessment 啦 ，ESL 嘅 assessment 啦，咁咧就係測試佢嘅英文。咁到埗咗之後咧，其實都仲要再做喺 orientation week 嘅時候咧，都仲要再做一個英文嘅 test 測試下佢究竟個英文嘅程度係去到邊度嘅。咁Toronto Catholic 一樣啦，都係喺 orientation 嘅時候啦，咁要做呢一個嘅 English 嘅 assessment 嘅。咁值得一提咧，其實咧就算開個 ESL 俾你咧，就唔一定要話我淨係讀晒英文先。咁YRDC 唔係啦，咁Toronto Catholic 咧可以係一半一半。咁但係正常大部分嘅學生咧都係一路讀一啲譬如數學啊、science 啊或者其他學科啦，同時間讀個 ESL 嘅。咁不過咧要留意咧，咁ESL 咧就並不能夠讀到畢業嘅，因為 ESL 就唔係一個入大學嘅 credit 嚟嘅。咁萬一如果佢喺 ESL 一路輪迴搞唔掂嘅話咧，咁你係攞唔夠嗰個credit 係入大學嘅。咁所以咧，其實咧 ESL 咧係要搞掂咗啦，跟住然後咧你點都係要 join 翻一個正 course 啦，我哋叫做咁樣，譬如 ENG3U、ENG4U 就係安省指定嘅譬如入大學嘅英文嘅課程啦。咁其實你讀完個 ESL 點都係要 join 翻呢啲正英文嘅 program 咧，你先係攞得夠入大學嘅 credit 嘅。除非你話我唔入大學，我唔需要攞 OHSD 嘅，咁你就可以唔讀啦。咁但係咁你正常過得去都會讀噶嘛，係咪？咁所以ESL 咧只係一個幫助你銜接當地英文嘅一個課程啦，我個人認為。咁但係到最尾咧，其實你都係要讀翻人哋個英文嘅課程嘅。即係如果你諗住係入大學嘅話，咁樣咯。咁所以咧就英文咧就並不是分開拆開自己讀嘅。咁當然啦，如果你去 Toronto Catholic， 如果你提早到埗嘅，你可以讀啲英文先，或者當然啦，你去 York 嘅，咁你可以 enroll 佢啲summer 嘅英文 program 啦，攞定啲 ESL credit 啦，亦都係可以嘅。咁但係咧如果你話我9月先過去嘅話咧，即係唔係9月啦，9月開學，其實8月中就要過去嗰啲 orientation 㗎。咁到時就會測試下英文啦，然後咧就會再係去幫你去睇你要讀幾多 ESL 定係唔需要讀 ESL 啦。咁然後再同你去評估你嘅情況。大部分香港學生都唔使由零開始讀嘅，我過往嘅學生都唔使由零開始讀嘅，係啦。咁所以就反而就唔需要太擔心。咁通常我哋睇咗成績表，大概都會話到俾你知道佢要讀幾多幾短㗎啦，係啦。咁最緊要咧，譬如你可以俾個成績表，2年成績表啦。如果佢有啲英文嘅公開考試嘅，可以俾嗰啲成績我哋睇啦。咁我哋都可以一齊衡量。咁我哋唔明嘅，咁我哋會 send 去學校直接問佢哋。咁唔使擔心話咁我哋講咗又唔係，我哋都唔會話係我哋決定嘅，我哋都一定會問個學校話咩，我哋先至再話翻俾你知道個情況係點樣樣咯，係啦。咁所以都可以 send 個成績表俾我哋，再同你去問嘅，係啦。咁咧仲有冇其他問題咧 ？So any more questions？好，咁如果暫時冇，如果都冇其他問題嘅話咧，咁我哋嘅 session 今日就去到呢度啦。咁咧喺呢度賣個廣告啦。咁我哋聽日咧亦都會有Vancouver 嗰邊嘅 school board 啦。咁如果你想聽 Vancouver 嘅 school board 咧，咁就聽日嘅朝早11點鐘去到1點鐘嘅個 session。咁就邀請咗3個 school board 嚟我哋啦，到亦都係喺加拿大嗰邊Zoom 過嚟嘅。咁亦都係會有親自解答你啦。咁可以聽埋嘅。咁如果唔係嘅話咧，如果想聽翻今日嘅甚至乎 Q&A 嘅錄音等等成或者係嗰個recording咧，咁其實咧因為你俾咗嗰個號碼啦，咁登記咗咧，我哋會 send 翻個 recording 俾你睇嘅。係啦，咁咧就好多謝大家參與啦。So thank you Alex, thank you Jessica for joining.
Thank you.
And I just
team.
asked there isn't any further questions at the moment, so if there's any more questions, I'll pass the questions to you. And a very warm thank you to you guys joining us very early in Canada and late evening in Hong Kong. So thanks for joining everyone. So take care, and we'll talk to you through email. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, thank you for having us. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Jonathan and team. And good seeing
Thank you for organizing. Bye bye. Have a good evening.
多謝各位家長嚟啦。咁我哋今日 session 去到呢度啦，多謝大家，拜拜。
Bye
Bye bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you.